Seahawks-Vikings last night on Fox. Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen are in mid-season form. Thielen, remarkable over-the-shoulder grab.
Yeah, they tried to challenge that one. I don't know what Pete Carroll was looking at, but Adam Thielen clearly got that footwork right there. He got his feet inbounds, secured the catch, held it all the way through contact in the ground.
Patriots-Titans, Jeremy McNichols catches it out of the backfield, wouldn't be denied, flies in for the score there.
Great move and hop over the defender, but do you want to see that in the preseason?
Nah, that's a guy fighting for a job right there, CB.
So now you like the fact that he put it all out.
He ain't got no choice.
Cowboys-Rams, Dak Prescott drops in the basket to Michael Gallup. Nice grab.
Yeah, Jerry Jones popping off in the media saying Dak Prescott is worth top-tier quarterback money. We'll see if he puts his money where his mouth is, because Dak wants to get that new deal before the season kicks off.
All right, same game. Check out the grab by Devin Smith in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, that's a pretty good grab right there. I mean, that's close quarters, and being able to have the ability to get off the jam and then secure it, feet in bounds. Yeah, that's a nice grab.
Dare Jerry say Amari who?
No, stop it. No,
he didn't say Zeke. I mean, he might be going off the deep end.
Speaking of, sticking with the Cowboys, on Saturday, rookie running back Tony Pollard impressed again. Rushed for 42 yards and just 5 carries and a touchdown against the Rams. And as you said it, Broussard, Jerry Jones asked how Pollard's performance will affect the Cowboys' negotiations with Zeke.
Is Pollard your best negotiator with Zeke?
Who?
Pollard.
Zeke who?
He's got you on camera.
We're having some fun. Not at your expense. If he continues this through the next several weeks, he's going to be right in the middle of it early. And that'll really complement what we're doing with Zeke. Not replace that, and I mean that. Not replace it, and nobody's getting cute here.
All right, so a lot of fun right there. But, Chris, how will this play out with Zeke and the Cowboys?
Look, I've been saying for more than a month, I think it's going to play out in that the Cowboys start the season without Zeke, because looking at the schedule, the Giants, who, you know, young defense, right? Washington, who we think is going to struggle. Miami, we think is going to struggle. And I'm not saying it has to go 3 games, but what I'm saying is if you're the Cowboys, I think you can afford to go into the regular season without Zeke unless he comes in and accepts the Le'Veon Bell type money that's supposedly on the table. And I think you can beat those teams, if not all 3 of them, certainly 2 of them, even without Zeke, especially with the way Tony Pollard is looking. So I think this gives the Cowboys a chance to see what Pollard and the running game looks like against the Giants. If you can, even if you beat them, but you can't run the ball, then I think you go to Zeke and say, all right, let's get you in here. Don't let the season drift away. But I think Jerry has said himself that the regular season is when you really get leverage, right? He said on the part of the team, it could hurt the team or it could hurt the player. So the way Tony Pollard has looked, I think Dallas feels like we can go into the regular season and then see how we play without Zeke.
Well, here's the thing. When you look at the expectations for the 2019 Cowboys, I don't think you can run the risk of allowing the negotiations to bleed over into the regular season, because you can't afford to give any games away. You want to have your best team available week 1 going up against the New York Giants. Now, we think the Giants will be an average to below average group. I agree with you on that. But I can't afford to run the risk of losing a game, especially a division game, early in the season like that. For me, you got to have Ezekiel Elliott in the fold once you kick off the regular season. I understand Tony Pollard has showed well throughout the course of the preseason, but even looking at that game on Saturday night, CB, I mean, Tony Pollard early on that first possession for the Dallas Cowboys, he missed a blitz pickup, which forced a Dak Prescott sack. So, I mean, that's a situation where you can't afford to let your quarterback get hit because your running back doesn't know to pick up an outside linebacker off of the play action. That's something that you can't afford. Now, Tony Pollard made up for it on that drive. He had a nice 15-yard run for a first down shortly thereafter, and then, of course, he capped off the drive with a touchdown run. But Tony Pollard ain't Ezekiel Elliott. You're still talking about a guy that's led the league in rushing 2 out of the first 3 years he's been in the NFL. In 2016, he had 1,000 yards rushing on first down alone. Last year, he led the league in rushes of 10 yards or more. He led the league in rushes for first downs. So he allows your offense to stay on schedule. You can't afford not to have Zeke out there on the football field, because guess what? if you don't have Zeke, you're not going to get the best version of Dak Prescott, and you're not going to make the most of that offensive line, which is one of the highest paid offensive lines in the National Football League.
I think Ezekiel Elliott is the best running back in the league. I love him, but I do think, I hate to say it, I think running backs are replaceable. Le'Veon Bell, James Conner came in and played well. Look at how many undrafted rookies in 7th round and 3rd round draft picks are coming out of nowhere. Now, I agree, Tony Pollard's not Zeke. My concern, you're right, he missed that block where Dak got sacked, but also he has not had anything near the workload that Ezekiel Elliott has had. He had 243 touches in his whole 3-year career at Memphis. Zeke had more rushes than that just last season. So I share your concerns. However, if the offensive line is intact and Amari Cooper is there, I do think they can have success on the ground without Zeke. And if they don't, then I think you go back and get him. But I think you're in a position where even if they lose to the Giants and you're 0-1, I think you can survive that.
So let me ask you this, CB. What are the expectations for the Dallas Cowboys coming into 2019? To compete for a championship, right?
Yes.
Are they winning a championship without number 21? Probably not.
When
you look at the NFC,
but they probably don't win it with him either.
Well,
probably.
No, you can't say. Well, here's the thing: you got to give yourself the best chance to try to compete for a championship, and that's what Jerry Jones is looking for. I think this team has a 2 or 3 year window that they can keep the entire band together with all the contracts that they already have on the books. I think they have that opportunity to compete the next couple of seasons. Why would you want to give away one of those chances this year just because you're trying to play hardball with your best player?
So would you make him the highest paid running back in the league?
Yeah,
I would
make him the highest paid running back in the league, because when you look at the other 2 players that you're negotiating contracts with, I don't think either one of those guys are going to deserve their place in the market when they get those extensions. Ezekiel Elliott is arguably the best running back in the National Football League. You can't make that argument for Dak Prescott, and you can't make that argument for Amari Cooper.
Do you think it gets done by week 1?
I think it gets done by week 1 because Zeke is the best player on that team. I mean, I just can't imagine Jerry Jones not getting this contract negotiated. Now, we do have the reports that Zeke was seen on a plane headed to the Dallas area over the weekend. So hopefully that's a good sign for the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe he's extending a little bit of good faith. But I think that Dallas, with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they got to get this contract worked out, because this is a team that's going to need Ezekiel Elliott, especially when you start talking about competing against the upper echelon squads in the NFC. You look at the NFC North. There are 3 teams that could win that division. The NFC South, the same thing. And then, of course, you got the Seahawks and the Rams out west. And then you got the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East with you. So, I mean, there is a lot of competition. The NFC is stacked this year. It's not gonna be a huge separation between these teams, but a player of the caliber of Ezekiel Elliott could be the difference in the Cowboys representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
You've both touched on it. Dallas believes that they are a title contender. Do you think that they can be if Ezekiel Elliott comes back?
I do think they're a title contender, and I do think they need him, but I think if you start the season playing well and Tony Pollard's playing pretty well without Zeke, then I think Zeke comes back and you get him at a better price. Because the Todd Gurley contract, that's what Zeke is using as, a measuring stick. That's working against them, though, because it looks like now Gurley's damaged goods, and you have to pay him all that money afterwards. So, and even if Jerry, and I think he was correct when he said Tony Pollard can't replace Zeke, but he can complement him. Even if he's looking at Pollard as getting a lot of touches, even with Zeke there, are they going to be willing to break the bank for Zeke when you may be thinking in 2 or 3 years Pollard's the #1 guy over Zeke?
CB, I'm going to push back a little bit. You said the Todd Gurley contract could be working against Ezekiel Elliott. Now, on its face, it looks like a bad deal. Right. But do you think Jerry Jones would be willing to pay that money out to his running back if that meant the Dallas Cowboys got to the Super Bowl in that season? Because that's exactly what happened to the Rams. They had an opportunity to compete for a championship. So, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, it does make sense to get your best player back on this team as you're moving toward the regular season.
Any concern about the shape he'll come back in?
No, the reports are that Zeke is at his lightest weight since he came into the league. He's around 220 pounds, so I don't have any concern. Look at it the last 2 years ago when he had that suspension where he was out for 6 games. He went down to Cabo at his agent's place, and he came back. He looked fantastic. So I anticipate we're going to see Ezekiel Elliott ready to go if and when he gets on that field for the Dallas Cowboys.
That should be my plan. before the NBA
Go to
season.
Cabo?
Go to Cabo. Coming up is Josh Gordon's reinstatement, what Tom Brady and the Patriots need to win their 7th Super Bowl. That's next on First Things First.